Hi, folks. Tim Forshey here with another episode of Guns and Gavels. Somebody asked me the other day while I was out to lunch. It was a client of mine. It was actually a former client, so a current friend. And they said, what are people supposed to do if they think in their heart that their attorney is actually wrong? And I said, are you kidding me? How could an attorney possibly be wrong? Obviously, that's an exaggeration. I'm trying to be funny. I live in a household with a wife and three daughters. I haven't been right in the last 25 years. But guess what? This actually happens a lot. It happens way more often than a lot of lawyers probably want to admit. If you're ever advised to go to trial, for instance, when a decent plea offer has been advised, for instance, if you're ever told that you should probably go to trial, advised by your attorney, you should probably go to trial when there's a decent, reasonable plea offer that's on the table, that might be a really great time to get a drum roll second opinion. You ever heard of that? We talk about second opinions with medical doctors all the time, but guess what? Second opinions with jurist doctors are just as important. Any lawyer or any doctor for that matter that is offended or personally affronted by the fact that you want to get a second opinion is an idiot. Clearly, somebody might have a better take on this than me. They might have a better idea than me. And that's your right to and that's always going to be your right to go out and seek such an opinion. There might be a different angle, a different perspective. It could be a game changer. It could make the difference in your case. So, of course, that's not a problem. You could be the key to unlocking the door if you need to go get a second opinion, and that second opinion yields fruit. Remember, folks, this is something that a lot of people seem to forget. As the client, you're the employer. The lawyer, or the doctor, if we want to continue our analogy, is the employee. You always have the right to change those people. So make sure you understand that. It's also important to understand, however, that if you're disagreeing with my advice and you choose not to follow my advice, then I'm always curious as to why you're continuing to pay for my advice. Why would somebody pay $400 or $500 an hour to somebody to ignore their advice? If that seems to be happening, you might want to rethink the whole way you're approaching this thing. You're not paying for a make-believe friend. If the lawyer tells you to shut up and not talk to the police, maybe shut up. If they tell you to stop talking to the defendant in the case, if you're a plaintiff in a civil case because you're represented by counsel, then stop talking to the defendant. If they tell you to stop using a slingshot to shoot rocks at your neighbor's cat, then do so, okay? I've never understood why a client won't follow the advice, but yet they continue to employ you. If you want to ignore the lawyer's advice, you certainly can. I'll tell you what I do in my office when this happens is if it gets to the point where it's clearly causing issues, then we do what's called an ALA letter. Some of you have probably heard of what's called an AMA, against medical advice. You're discharged from the hospital against medical advice. Your leg hasn't healed. You need to stay in the hospital another 3 days. I'm leaving now. Well, then you're going to leave against medical advice. So you sign an AMA letter acknowledging that you're advised not to leave the hospital and that you chose to do so against medical advice. I do the same thing, but I call it an ALA letter, against legal advice. I strongly advise you not to do this, but since doing so is both legal and ethical, if you want to do so, you certainly can. Please sign here acknowledging that I advise you not to do so. Why do I do that? Because I don't want to be the guy later who becomes the source of the problem. I don't want to have you decide to sue me or file a malpractice claim against me saying that I never advised you of something when I clearly did. So we cover our butts. And also, it makes it a real thing for the client. Sometimes when they see that in writing, they'll actually go, oh, maybe I should pay attention to this advice that this person's giving me. So obviously, you're always free to not do that, but understand there's a reason you are paying a lawyer. Anyway, just a little bit of musings on that. If you have any other questions, please let us know. Please click like or subscribe below. And again, make sure you stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in.